Denial on detained boy claim. A claim that a 10-year-old boy was held in police detention without supervision in Hobart last week has been rejected by the Corrective Services and Justice Department. This is off the Examiner, by the way. Director Robert Williams yesterday claimed a Greens leader, Nick McKim, that a 10-year-old boy was arrested and subsequently processed at the Hobart Reception prison last week without any parent or guardian present and without any legal representation. McKim has commented on the actions by correctional service officers in the process used to detain the boy, and there were some inaccuracies in those comments, he said. A 10-year-old boy in prison? Sounds a little wild. And they're not saying what for. That's what's really bizarre. You know, did he shoot somebody? What happened? I mean, even then, do we, put him in prison? He's 10 years old. He's a little kid. And then I've really got to cover this gun ban. Where is the gun ban? Oh, by the way, some good news before we cover the gun ban. Judicial Watch has apparently forced the release of the bank bailout documents. Judicial Watch, the public interest group that investigated and prosecutes government corruption, announced today that it forced the Obama administration to release documents about the October 13, 2008 Treasury Department meeting that coerced major banks to allow the government to take $250 billion equity stakes. Much more than that, folks. So hopefully they'll do this. Hopefully, the documents are there. I haven't gotten a chance to look at them. There they are. Documents Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. We need some info warriors out there to go over these documents, tell us what's in them, and then we will write stories up over at InfoWars and Prison Planet. All right, and now quickly, the Connecticut House has passed a machine gun ban for children. The Connecticut House of Representatives have given final legislative approval to a bill that bars anyone from providing a child under 16 with a machine gun, including for target practice. The bill passed the House 139-0. It already passed the Senate and awaits Government M. Jody Rell's signature. The legislation stems from the October death of an 8-year-old boy, Ashford boy, who accidentally shot himself in the head with an Uzi at a Massachusetts gun show. Well, why was there a loaded Uzi in an 8-year-old's hand? First of all, the parent should have been prosecuted on that for having his 8-year-old handling a loaded Uzi. I mean, what kind of an idiot gives their 8-year-old a loaded... All right, I'm going to stop. I'm going to take a call. That's just off the chain. And now we have this terrible legislation because of it. Leif in Montana, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man.
Hey, I'm calling about a little incident in Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
There was an Indian protest going on. There was a land dispute on the
I have
Six
that
Nations.
article in front of me. Now, this is. Are you talking about what occurred where this American officials came over the border and took this guy off a reservation and charged him with assaulting a U.S. government agent?
Well, actually, it's a Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco Firearms agent.
Mm-hmm.
They got in a scuffle with one of the Indians there. The Indian actually did time in Canada for this.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Indian tried to come here, they were trying to prosecute him or thinking about prosecuting him in the U.S. I wanted to know why a BATF on-duty agent, American agent, would be on Canadian soil on their reservations, along with our border patrol.
That is interesting, isn't it? Well, it's because they're trying to integrate Canada, the United States, and Mexico into a North American Union. And I'm going to read the mainstream article out of the Native American Times on the other side. Thank you for the call, Leif. It was something we were going to cover, but now we're going to cover it in a little bit more depth. Back after this, it's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas, PrisonPlanet.tv, Infowars. Just joining us, Leif in Montana just mentioned this Indian who was on a reservation in Ontario, Canada. He apparently assaulted a ATF agent in plain clothes, by the way, a U.S. ATF agent. They had been threatened by some hate groups, and he had no idea who this guy was, apparently. They got into a little bit of scuffle. He ended up doing time in Ontario, but now he's being charged in Buffalo in the United States. So he already did time for this, and he's going to end up doing more time. And the caller brings up a great point. What are U.S. ATF agents doing in Canada at tribal regions? A Mohawk Indian from Canada pleaded guilty Monday to an American charge of assaulting a U.S. government agent who was observing an Indian protest in Ontario. Trevor Miller, who has already served time in Canada for the incident, told a federal judge in Buffalo that he didn't know that the man he confronted was with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives when he approached the agent's vehicle at the outskirts of the Six Nations Indian Reserve in Caledonia. We had been getting threats from numerous hate groups, Miller told U.S. Magistrate Judge Hugh Scott while pleading guilty in U.S. District Court. Not in a million years did we think that they were U.S. agents being in Canada. ATF Special Agent Stephen Dickey was parked in an unmarked SUV with 3 other law enforcement officers on June 9, 2006, when Miller, with a sheath knife around his neck and about 14 other Indian men, blocked it and began slamming their hands on its hood, authorities said. None of the officers observing the protest, part of a local land dispute, was armed or in uniform, they said. So then really, this is just outrageous. Miller was arrested April 1st, 2008 at the U.S.-Canada border crossing at International Falls, Minnesota. The U.S. plea agreement includes a possible sentence of 15 to 21 months. But Miller could avoid prison if the sentencing judge agrees to take into account his time served in Canada and his cooperation in the investigation. So I guess we'll see how that pans out. We brought it up. I mean, that's the best I can do on that one. You're on, Paul, but let me make this point about Notre Dame. We had a representative with Alan Keyes on probably, what was it, Friday's show on Alex? Last week, like a whole week ago, we had it. Alan Keyes got arrested for protesting abortion with other people. Well, they actually arrested one of their own Catholic priests at Notre Dame today for doing the same thing. So I thought that was of note and something we should talk about. Go ahead, Paul.
Wow. Hey, Jason, I love the show. I just got turned on to Alex, and you just, I don't know, probably about 5-6 months ago. And just something that's really, really crazy to me. I just noticed I'm in North Dakota, and today in Minnesota, a 13-year-old Minnesota teen is forced to go under chemotherapy for cancer.
Yes, and I have that story right here, my friend. Let me just read it, and I'm going to get your comments on it. This is out of the Associated Press. Judge rules family can't refuse chemo for boy. A Minnesota judge has ruled that a 13-year-old boy with a highly treatable form of cancer must seek conventional medical treatment over his parents' objections. In a 58-page ruling Friday, Brown County District Judge John Rodenberg found that Daniel Hauser has been medically neglected and is in need of child protection services. And what this does is it sets a precedent for the state to decide how we take care of ourselves medically, what we can and cannot ingest in our own bodies, and what treatments we can allow ourselves to undergo. This is very draconian indeed. Continue.
That's right, Jason. You know, it's saying that a compelling state of interest in the life and welfare of Daniel is sufficient to override the fundamental constitutional rights of both the parents and Daniel of the free exercise of his religion. And I don't know, he might have terminal cancer. There are different alternative therapies, that they do in places like Mexico and different countries where they're allowed to do different things. However you feel on that, it's a constitutional thing, and I don't know.
And they try to put out the propaganda that if he does this, he has a 90% chance of survival. They don't want to talk about the percentages of alternative medicines or the chances of what will happen if they don't do it. And this is one of those tough wedge issues. On the surface, it's like give the kid chemotherapy because everybody's brainwashed that radiation is the way to go to treat cancer. Thank God I've never had cancer. I don't know anybody who's had cancer, but at the same time, look who brought it into this country, IG Farben. I encourage people, if they don't know, what this cancer industry is really about, to go check out G. Edward Griffin's A World Without Cancer lecture from the 70s. It's very, very telling and very mind-opening. You got anything else for me, Paul?
Well, right on, Jason. Yeah, first-time caller. That's all I really wanted to say today, but thanks a lot for everything you do.
All right, thank you for calling, brother, and I hope you enjoy the show. Let's go to Amando in New York. Amando, you're on the air. Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. This is Armando. I wanted to just mention a few things. First of all, in Queens, it seems the swine flu is starting up again. They just closed 3 schools in Queens because of swine flu, and they said a principal had to go to the hospital in critical condition, but it seems like he's making it out of it.
Okay.
In addition, they're going to stage
the drills this Sunday over at the World
drill
Trade Center?
in Manhattan.
We covered that earlier in the show, but let's talk about that for a second. They're going to be drilling a massive exercise of basically subway stations blowing up beneath the Hudson River, and then an attack on the World Trade Center complex. And this is going to involve a ton of first responders and really going to be quite a commotion in the city. And the article that I read from Reuters starts talking about the flyover exercise of Air Force One. Well, this isn't supposed to be an exercise, if you remember. It wasn't supposed to be a drill. It was supposed to be a photo op. Yeah, but there was no photos. And through FOIA requests, we have not seen the photos that they took because they don't have any. So you got to wonder if this drill is not only preparing first responders to get ready for this type of attack again, or to acclimate the public to these kind of disasters and see what their reaction is. Because to me, that Air Force One thing was nothing but a psyop. And this could be another psychological operation, because a lot of people, Armando, are not like you. They don't read the paper. They don't know that this drill is about to be happening. And a lot of people are going to think that this is a real world emergency in Lower Manhattan.